Hello, and welcome to a surgical episode of the Drywall Podcast. I am your host, Nick Harmon. Today, I'm very excited to announce for the first time ever, Ray Anderson, aka the Drywall Doctor, on YouTube. We cover a lot of ground. We discover a product that he made that's actually a surgical kit for drywall professionals that he was trying to sell at one point. We discuss his challenges with drugs and alcohol and how maybe he got sober 40 years ago.
And August 3rd, 1984, I'm bombed out of my gourd in a bar, right? I couldn't even stay out of the bar. I'm bombed out of my gourd in a bar, and I came home and I'm thinking, I'm an alcoholic. And then I hit meetings. I went to meetings at that point, 9 meetings a week for the next 2.5 years. So it's that's when I really, and that's Welch Drywall hired me back again, and I worked for Welch again, sober now.
We discuss the early days of running the tools, and we talk a little bit about the Darby versus skimming blades, but most importantly, we talk about how he came up with this concept of the Drywall Doctor on YouTube and how he grew that account to over 47,000 followers. Ray is not like what I imagined he would be, and I think you'll love this episode. Today's episode of the Drywall Podcast was brought to you by Fresco Harmony, making walls better since 2004. And to celebrate this milestone, yours truly is going to travel up to CSR in Toronto and their Barrie locations for a training June 6th and 7th. We're going to be hanging out at the CSR location, and I would love to meet you and show you some cool stuff about Fresco Harmony. If you'd like information on that, you can reach out to me directly, info@frescoharmony.com. You can also reach out to CSR and check with those guys. Stay tuned next Friday as I take the Drywall Podcast on the road all the way up to Surrey, British Columbia. Hopefully, it's not a guarantee. I can get a special guest on board next Friday, live and in person. Stay tuned for that. But for now, Ray Anderson, better known as the Drywall Doctor, on the 95th episode of the Drywall Podcast. Let's get into it. We have Ray Anderson, the Drywall Doctor, on the Drywall Podcast, and you've got a drywall. You've got the Drywall Doctor shirt there. I need my hat and the hat. How do I get a hold of a Drywall Doctor shirt?
Actually, I've never sold one. I've been just. Do you?
Oh yeah.
You have to just email me an address. I'll send you one.
I'll trade you.
All right, sounds good. Absolutely. You want just a shirt?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I like the shirts.
You want black and white or white and black?
White with black. The white shirt.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a few that are brand new, never been worn.
Perfect.
Otherwise, I've been wearing them just myself.
I'm a medium, but sometimes I wear them. People send me shirts. Sometimes I wear them on the podcast.
Mm-hmm. I love the back of it. It says,
what do you got? Turn around. Just walk away, let it dry. That is good advice. We generally save a pearl of wisdom for the end of the episode, but walk away and let it dry is fantastic.
I said that in one of my very first videos because I was working and I said, hey, get it this far, walk away, let it dry. And somebody had sent a comment saying, hey, that should be your motto. That should be your motto. So
it's short and sweet.
You see that corner right here? Right here.
Yeah.
Okay. I did a video where I took that corner right there and I smashed it with a baseball bat.
Okay.
And then I fixed it with a product that I was trying to come up with, that I was trying to use, that I invented. It's called the Drywall Doctor First Aid Kit. So I made these Drywall Doctor First Aid Kits
Okay.
And I repaired that completely with one kit. Matter of fact, I punched a hole where the doorknob goes into the wall here. I punched a big hole where the doorknob is, punched a bunch more holes. I actually made a crack above this door, and I repaired everything with one first aid kit, just one.
Shut it. All right. Do you have a first aid kit that I could see?
I wasn't sure if I had one made up.
Little first aid kit for your drywall, for your truck.
Yep.
Okay.
It's and in here,
what do we got?
you have a small bag of 90. And up here I can only get this and 5. I would love to see 45 in here, but they don't make it in this bag for 45.
Yeah, so I think we have little bags of 5 down here.
Yes,
like 5 minute.
We have 5. Okay, and then you have
that 5 minutes tough though. I wouldn't give that 5 minute to any DIYer, man.
Exactly. That's why I went with the 90.
Yeah.
That's why I went with the 90. They can wait. They just have to
just walk away.
Let it dry.
At least for a day. For a day.
So then I put this in here. So you got 3 little knives.
Anvil.
And
and
then I put this in here. This is a sandwich thing I got from Target. Okay.
Right. Okay.
And so this is where you mix the mud too. So you mix the mud in this.
Okay.
Right.
You know what you could use is have you seen those little blue balls?
Yes, I have.
That would be kind of cool. That would be cool for mixing too.
I put in two little cups because it's 2 to 1. So there's
I didn't know that. Okay.
2 things of powder to 1 thing of water.
Okay.
So yeah, do it one time. Just do 2 to 1, and you have a perfect mix. You've got a piece of straight flex roll patch.
That's the straight flex. Okay, and that'll work. That'll work for an outside corner.
No, this will work for a big hole. I can punch a hole this big and just patch it with this. I don't need drywall.
Could you use that for an outside corner in a pinch?
No, use this.
Not really.
This is level line.
That's your level line.
I've got some tape here. Looks like I got a lot of tape here. So I got a 4 foot of tape. And I think I gave you 4 foot of level line too. So there's 4 foot of level line in here. So it's a lot like the no coat. Actually, it's made by No Coat. And you can use it for 45s, right? You can use it for a 45, a 120, or a 90.
Yeah.
And then, again, that's what I fixed that corner with, was this.
Okay.
And I bent this into a 90-degree angle, and I put this on there. So this is what I put in for corner bead, off-angle bead, and everything else. I put, and it's not as thick. The paper's much thinner than No Coat, and it's much easier to work with than No Coat. I mean, I do use No Coat if I've got big gaps in the angles, or if I have a lot of 120 bead. This doesn't work as well on 120 bead as the wide No Coat. And then I put in some fiberglass mesh, but the good stuff. I like this fiberglass mesh, of course.
Okay.
It's got the crisscross in there.
And it doesn't do the sideways stretch.
Exactly. It will not move this direction.
Okay.
I will not use the other fiberglass mesh tape. I will only use this. And this is at any box store, box store up here now. Did
you say whether or not you liked Fiberfuse? What's your take on that?
Fiberfuse is not as strong as this. Okay. Just the regular Fiberfuse. Now they have the super strong Fiberfuse.
Yeah, that stuff seems pretty good. Yeah,
I use that. Now, if I've got cracks that are bad cracks that I think are going to come back again, I will either use. I will take this and I will cut a strip of this, and I will either use this on there if I think the crack is going to come back. I will use a strip of this, or I will use the super strong Fiberfuse, the stuff that's got the fiberglass.
I like the width. I like the width of that.
This is awesome. Yes, and this comes in a giant roll too.
Is that 6 inch?
I don't think so. Let me see. I got a 6-inch knife here. You know what? It is 6 inches. No.
Yeah.
No, it isn't.
Little shy.
It's just shy of 6 inches.
That's about the size of the Fiberfuse. Has a 6-inch roll.
Yeah.
Love that shit though. Yeah, if you have a bastard joint or something, that the wider, it's cool.
I've been using this for years. Love this stuff. I've just been using this for years.
And just say the name of that again.
This is Straight Flex Roll Patch.
Straight Flex. Okay.
Straight Flex Roll Patch is what it is.
Okay.
And then, like I said, and then I have some tape. And then what I've done in here too is I put a little piece of sandpaper. I just broke this one off. Otherwise, my other ones, I actually took my miter saw and I cut these big sanding sponges in half. And I've been putting pieces of sanding sponge in there. And then I put some screws in here. I put some wood screws, 1.25 inch wood.
There you go.
And I put some 1.5 inch metal screws in here too.
Okay.
So because wood goes to wood, metal goes to metal. Guys, do not use metal. Do not use wood screws on metal. Do not do it. And you can use metal screws on wood, but do not use wood screws on metal. It's going to rattle. They're going to pop. They're not going to last.
Sure.
The problem with it, and I was told, is it's not simple enough for the average person. It was too complicated.
Yeah, but maybe for a drywall guy to throw a first aid kit in your truck,
that's what I would do. Truthfully, I do that. I throw one in my truck, and I don't have one with me, but
that's okay.
I repaired all of this stuff, and I told them, I said, listen, in the audience, I said, listen, if I were to repair all of this stuff that I did with one first aid kit, and I still had a lot of material left over too.
Yeah.
I would charge between $400 to $500 for all of those repairs. And I'm trying to sell a kit for like $50.
Okay.
And couldn't sell one. Couldn't sell one kit. I was like,
Now, how many kits did you make, and did you sell any?
I have sold 0. I have given quite a few of them away, though. I have given a lot of them away.
How many kits did you make?
I have enough. I had enough to make about 200.
Okay.
200
so
kits.
Out of the gate, did you have the bags fabricated, or the lunchbox?
I had the lunch boxes made. I made 200 of those, and I had those. If you go on my YouTube channel, you will find a playlist for the Drywall Doctor first aid kit.
Okay.
And it is all there. All of the videos are there. All of the repairs are there. Everything is there for the first aid kit. Okay. I had actually mentioned it to USG because I wanted USG to sponsor it with me and help me out with it. They were just like, it's too complicated. It's too complicated. And I'm like, yeah, but your kits aren't right. You're going to patch things with their kits and they're going to re-crack all over again. You patch it the way I'm doing it with my kit, and I guarantee you it's not going to crack again. It's what is
the USG kits comprised of? I know they have a little cute tub of mud, like a little mud pan, and the little mud pan with the red knife on top.
Yep.
I'm always like, do they sell these fucking things?
I know. And then they have a little bit of fiberglass mesh tape and stuff in there with it. So you're using fiberglass mesh tape with +3. And you're like, that's never going to hold. That's not going to hold up. That's going to crack out in a week.
And if you're listening and you're new, it's quasi debatable, but there's folklore or a rule of thumb that fiber tape, generally you should use quick setting joint compound with fiber tape. All purpose with fiber tape doesn't work as well, right?
Well, you see all these wrinkles. I'm old, okay?
I'm 43.
I've been taping since 1976, right?
Okay.
When I was taping, there was no such thing as fiberglass mesh tape. It did not exist yet.
Okay.
Right? It just didn't. Everything was pre-filled. You had 2 types of drywall. You had SW board and you had tapered edge board. There were 2 types of drywall. SW, we called it smooth wall, and tapered edge. Actually, it was almost like as if it was pre-filled. It didn't have as much of a divot as the SW board did. If your house, and I always preferred SW board. I would always stock SW board in any jobs that I was doing. If you did not pre-fill your SW board with Durabond and you went ahead and taped it, your knife isn't even going to hit the tape. You're going to wipe your knife over it, and it's not even going to hit the tape because the bevel was so deep. I think by the time you were taping, SW board wasn't even around anymore. You never even heard of it.
But right. I was born, for reference, I was born in 1976.
Yeah.
It's back to the USG, their version of the Doctor kit, really quick, because I love bashing USG. And
I live in USG country.
What are they going to do? What are they going to do,
right,
Ray?
I live in USG country. Their labs are right up here in Libertyville. I could leave right now and be at their lab in less than an hour.
Hey, USG, this is for free. You should maybe reconsider Ray's. He's been around for in the trades for 40 years. Maybe you should reconsider his product. I want to stay on this line a little bit. I have seen, like, on Shark Tank, there was a dude that had a fast patch system.
Yes.
Robert picked him up right away. That guy got a deal immediately.
Yeah.
Anything drywall, I feel like on the Shark Tank would do well. There's some other quick patch systems on the market.
You peel it, you stick it, you mud it.
Some of those yes. seem pretty good, right?
They do. I've used them. Listen, I had a big warehouse, and they had a whole bunch of holes that needed to be fire taped and sealed up quickly. And I couldn't find any of that roll patch. I was trying to find roll patch so I could patch it. I couldn't find any, but they had a whole bunch of those stick-on patches. And I just bought a whole box of them and just went there and stuck all of these patches on, mudded them up, and I'm done. I mean,
what's your opinion, really quick? And we will get into the history, I promise you. I'm going to try and steer the conversation. You're a good talker, but we want to get through a lot. What is your opinion on fiberfuse, really quick? Because I immediately think part of your kit, you've seen the 6-inch rolls of fiberfuse.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
First of all, what do you think of fiberfuse? And then how cool would it be to have a bunch of those 6-inch chunks, square pads of fiberfuse in your little Doctor kit?
The fiberfuse, if you're patching a hole the size of your fist with fiberfuse,
no good.
I wouldn't do it.
Okay.
Now, straight flex roll patch, incredible. I would do it in a heartbeat. I've patched huge holes with the straight flex roll patch because it's very thick and it's very strong. I just did a job this morning. You understand? I'm still taping. Nobody knows I'm taping, but I'm still taping. I was at a woman's house today, and I'm digging out old cracks that are in her ceiling. And she said she had them patched 15 years ago. I dug out 3 layers. This crack had been patched 3 times. I was telling her she needed to get some control joints in there, and she didn't want to do that. And I said, well, I'll patch it anyway. But I actually had to use roll patch because the patch ended up being this wide.
Yeah.
Once I dug everything out. So I used some roll patch on there. It won't crack. Not in my lifetime. It won't crack.
No. So. Why do you think that was cracking? Too much expanse of drywall and the home was shifting? Why was that? Why was it?
No, it needed something in the attic. You had no backing in there. The drywall, I could push it up this far. I could push up one side this far. It just wasn't. It wasn't secured very well. And I didn't have the money or the energy to get up in the attic and find backing and put backing in where I needed to. I didn't want to take the drywall down. She was on a budget. She just wanted to do it and patch it up. Yep. She's 81. So if it's going to outlast my lifetime, it'll definitely outlast her lifetime. Right?
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Did you get a chance to check out any of the Drywall podcast? You said you were. Now I thought you would like the Walter Baker episode because I think you guys are very close in age.
Yeah, so I did not. Honestly, I was working today. I came home. I did a few other things, and now I'm here.
Do you do you listen to podcasts?
No.
No, not really. Okay. Well, this might be either a good segue into podcast listening or because I think I'm kind of entertaining.
Okay.
Maybe I'm not. I don't know.
I was told I needed to do a podcast on recovery programs because I'm very versed with 12-step recovery groups, very versed with them.
Oh, interesting. We've had a couple recovery people on. I just passed over 20 years clean 40. And sober. You have 40?
Yeah, 40 years. Clean
nice.
and sober.
And you're an AA guy.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's fantastic. Congratulations. Mm-hmm. We've had a handful of recovery people on the Drywall podcast.
Well, we're finishers. We're all in recovery, aren't we?
We're derelicts.
That's right.
We're using or we're clean.
Exactly. I mean, either we're in recovery or we're in denial, one or the other.
Yeah, I like it. But so anyways, just to put that out there, if you this is a safe zone. If you want to talk about that, we don't have to, but we might cross that bridge. Because I do I will give away one of my secrets. You know, when you go to tell your story, like in a recovery setting,
mm-hmm. Yep.
You kind of go by the format of how it was, what like happened now, and sort of that three. That's kind of how I run the Drywall podcast.
What my life used to be like, what happened, and what it's like today.
Where you went wrong, where you steered into drywall. So it goes back all the way to when you were 16 years old.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. So let's start there. Ray's going to high school. He says, screw this. I'm going to go be a drywaller.
Yep. Well, Welch Drywall was a big drywall company up in the Chicagoland area. And the owner of Welch Drywall's brother was married to my sister. So when he heard I had dropped out of high school, he just came because his company was at the end of the street. He just came over to my house and asked me if I wanted to learn a trade. And I said, sure. So he was just gotten big enough where he was getting out of the field himself. So he just handed me his tools and I went to work. They handed me a 6-inch knife, a roll of sandpaper, and a sand pole. And
what's the name of that? What's the name of that company real quick?
Welch Drywall. I don't even know if they're in business anymore. I really don't. I think they went out of business too.
But we're moving kind of quick here. So 1 second you're in high school, the next second this guy's saying, "Hey, you want to do drywall?" Had you already decided to quit school and then you were looking for something?
Hated school. Absolutely
hated school. You were looking for something to do.
Yeah. Yeah, and during the summer, I worked for my dad. My dad was a general contractor.
Okay.
So I had worked for him, and I'd gotten the taste of what it tasted like to make money and work.
Yeah.
And so I went back to school for a very short time and decided this isn't for me. Yeah. And then I went to work as a drywall finisher.
Yeah, that independence, man. You get a taste of that independence. Yeah. It's sweet as honey. Very cool. And you had the good fortune of somebody in the trade that maybe handed the baton.
And understand this, guys. In 1976, there was a building boom like you've never seen before in your life. We were finishing 5 houses a day. I was sanding on this one project 5 houses a day. Eesh. That was my job. I was sanded, but you didn't have the fine sandpaper that you have today either. It was all 100 grit sandpaper, and I didn't wear a mask. I never wore a mask back then.
That was post asbestos, though.
It was after asbestos, but you don't believe it or not.
Not healthy.
All of our mud at that point was advertised asbestos free. It was on every box, every bucket that you came across, asbestos free. They were very well advertising because it had just stopped. It was just not there anymore.
79, right? 79.
76?
Or no, 69 to 70. When when the asbestos sort of reached its end?
Yeah. I think it was right around 70. And but there was still asbestos out there. You would still every so often come across the pink Durabond, and that was asbestos.
Okay. All right.
You ever seen the pink Durabond?
You know what's a fun fact about me? I've never used Durabond.
Oh,
I always use the sheetrock brand, whatever,
oh,
4590. Never,
okay. Well,
I've
right.
seen
All right.
it.
Gotcha.
I've never
Yeah.
used it.
See, I'm pre that didn't exist either when
Yeah,
I was
people
taping
call the sheetrock stuff Durabond.
Durabond. They do. I know.
People call
Yeah,
Quickset Durabond. I've seen
exactly.
Durabond. I've never used it. What's the difference between, real quick, to our listeners and also the younger listeners who've never used Durabond? What's the difference, real quick?
Much harder, way harder. You can actually sand easy sand if you got big enough muscles. You
Yeah.
can sand it. You cannot sand Durabond. It's
Okay.
impossible.
All right.
It's concrete. It's just concrete.
Huh,
But that we
interesting.
pre-filled. I can't believe I see a lot of these videos on YouTube and things like that where they're just taping the seams. That's completely unheard of around here. If you just tape the seams up here and around here in this area without pre-filling them first, you're going to have 80% more settlement cracks than somebody who's pre-filled it before they taped it. 80%. Your
Wow.
seams are going to pop and crack. Your angles are going to pop and crack. You're going to have a lot of popping and cracking within the first year. I've
Why
had
is
builders.
why is that?
A lot of the time, it's the extreme temperature changes. We'll have 40.
Ah,
We'll have 20 below zero with
yeah.
0% humidity, and we'll have 100-degree temperatures with 100% humidity. And so the difference in the humidity changes and the temperature
Okay.
changes here just fluctuate. Same thing in Seattle. Seattle's got a lot of
Ah,
moisture there. And again, if you're not pre-filling before you tape, you're going to have a lot more settlement cracks.
interesting. Yeah, I was in Chicago for the 1994 World Cup. I saw a few games there at Soldier Field, and people were like dying of heat stroke.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like in Chicago, the Windy City.
Yeah. But
Um,
they say if you don't like the weather here, just wait a minute.
yeah. um,
It's
okay,
beautiful
where
today. 75 and sunny today, which is absolutely
nice.
gorgeous. Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
I love
it's a
that.
beautiful day today.
16, Ray is cutting his teeth in drywall. How long do you stay with Welsh?
Until they let me go for being a drunk and a drug addict.
Nice.
But they at 19, they actually gave me a company truck at 19, and they sent
Okay.
me to Florida. Uh, and so this was 79, 80. They sent me to
Yeah.
Florida, and I was doing model homes in Florida. But the thing is at 19, I was old enough to drink there. And that was the end of me. I tell you, that was the end of me.
Good times. Good
Yeah,
times.
I was drunk every day. I was at the beach every day by 1:30, 2 o'clock in the
Oh
afternoon.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, so I worked there for about a year, year and a half. But again, too, they had to let me go. I was too
Yeah.
much of a drunk. They couldn't
And
keep me
and
on.
to your credit, that's not bad.
No. And and then they
They
picked
got a
me.
year out of you. They
Well,
got a
I
year
gotta
of
tell you,
mediocre work out of you.
I I gotta tell you, when you're a drunk, you have to be good at what you're doing because otherwise you won't be able to hold a job. So by 19, I was a phenomenal finisher. I really
I'll
was.
bet. I'll
So I'm
bet.
working in Florida, and I I'm working textures coming for the very first time. So I'm seeing texture for the very first time. I'd never seen texture before. I'm
Okay.
a smooth wall finisher. So I'm making my houses as if I'm in Illinois and they're just going to paint the homes,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Here come the texture guys and they're blowing popcorn on the ceilings and an orange peel on the walls, and they are just loving my houses.
Yeah.
Absolutely loving
No,
my
no
houses.
touch up. No touch
No,
ups in those
nope.
houses.
So so word gets out about some taper from Illinois who is
Yeah.
just doing an incredible job on their houses. And then Welch lets me go. And I call the first drywall company looking for work because there was still work everywhere.
Yeah.
And they asked me, so where you been working? And I said, well, I worked in Illinois, and now I came down here with the company.
Okay.
Are you that Illinois taper? I go, I don't know if I'm that Illinois taper. I am an Illinois taper. They hired me on the spot.
Okay.
Because I had a reputation immediately down there from the texture guys.
You're around 19, 20. But did you work was Welsh part of the union in Chicago?
Yes.
I know the union's really strong.
Yes.
Like there's no non-union there, right?
No. Well,
Okay.
not when you get in the housing projects. No, there's no, or commercial work or anything else. There's no non-union here.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been in the union since 76 too.
Okay, cool.
But in Phoenix, Arizona, the union went bankrupt. So when I was in Phoenix for a while, I was out of the union for a while because all of a sudden they were gone. Union didn't exist anymore there.
Well, let's not jump ahead. You got fired for being an alcoholic, can't keep the job with Welsh. They're like, we're tired of this guy. But there's these other companies that like, hey, this guy's pretty good. They hire you on. How long? Now, this would be a curious question. How long when you jump on with these other companies until drugs and alcohol finally run their course?
It didn't because their main finisher was a bigger drunk than I was.
Nice. You had a buddy. You had a drinking buddy.
And so they put us together, right? So I made him. He made me look really good because he was a worse drunk than I was. And big old
two halves make a whole.
Yeah, big old Indian Scar is his name. And oh my gosh. Oh man, it was, but they loved me. I could work with homeowners and I can talk with people and I could do pickup work, and they just absolutely loved me down there. They didn't want me to quit, but I quit and came back home. I came back to Illinois for a short period of time. I don't think I went back to work for Welch yet. And this would have been, I went down there in 79. Actually, it was May 26, 1979, because I get there and it's my birthday.
Okay.
So May 26, 1979. And I think I left there the first part of 1980.
Okay.
I left there. I was home for a very short time and went to Phoenix, Arizona, where my brother lives, and got down to Phoenix. And that was a learning experience. I'm telling you.
Why did you want to go to Phoenix? Why did you go to Phoenix?
My brother was there. Nobody wanted me around here because I was just a deadbeat drunk. And so I went and lived with him, and I got a job for it was Pete King Drywall in Phoenix, Arizona for a while. And then I got to work with A-Rock Drywall in Phoenix, Arizona. And I got in on the ground floor of the Good Samaritan Hospital in downtown Phoenix, Arizona. And I was there till the end. I ended up getting married down there and had a child down there. Okay. And I was there to the end until...
Still drinking.
Yep. My wife told me she'd allow me to have one beer a day. So I'd get a quart bottle of beer. That was my one beer a day. And then that wasn't enough.
Fill up a garbage can.
Listen, that didn't turn out to be enough after a while. So I'd buy 2 quarts. I'd drink one right away and then have the other one when I got home. So she's thinking I'm only drinking 1 quart. And then when that wasn't enough too, I used to keep a bottle of blackberry flavored brandy underneath the seat of my car.
Smart.
And then I could go out there and have a swig or 2 of that to take the edge off if I needed to.
Yeah. Okay. So you have same wife?
No. We got divorced in 83.
Okay. But you had a child with that wife?
2.
Okay.
Yeah.
2 kiddos, and you're 83, you're 23, 24,
22, 23.
Maybe the train's starting to derail a little bit. You go through a divorce. You're in Phoenix, and then something happens. You get clean. You're not divorced anymore, but you're still doing drywall.
My grandfather passed away, so we came back to Illinois. We packed up everything. We came back to Illinois. We went and stayed with my ex's parents until we got an apartment. But again, and I went back to work for Welch Drywall, but I'm still a drunk. Okay. And
do you feel like you have a problem? Like at this point, are you like, this is like, becoming a nuisance. You're still pretty young though. You can handle your liquor.
No, not yet. I don't think I have a problem at all. Everybody else has a problem. I don't have a problem at all. I drink, I get drunk, I fall down. It wasn't a problem for me.
Yeah. You're just living your best life.
Listen, I had to completely learn how to tape all over again once I got sober because I didn't know how to tape sober. I would keep beers in a bucket of ice in the house, and I would drink from the time I got up in the morning until I passed out at night. I did. I mean, alcohol completely controlled my life. It told me what time I was going to get up in the morning, who I was going to lie, hide, steal, and manipulate that day, and what time I was going to go to bed at night. I mean, it controlled every aspect of every minute of my life. After we separated, me and my wife, then I started to think I had a problem. But then I met my girlfriend, who is now my wife today. And we've been married, actually, May 17th will be 38 years we've been married.
Okay. I saw some pictures of her on your Facebook page, your personal Facebook page, or some social media stuff.
Yeah, I actually got some pictures here, some good pictures of us here. Here's one.
You guys are a beautiful couple. Yeah.
So,
damn, Ray, you were handsome.
I met her, and then I ended up getting into a friend of mine comes over to the house. Now he hears about all the problems that I have and everything that's going on in my life and everything else. And he had just came out of a detox center, and I didn't know that. I had no idea. So he came over to my house and he says, "Come on, Ray, come with me. And Kathy asked, "Where are you going?" And he wouldn't tell us. Now I thought, ooh, we're really going to go party. We're going to go party. We're going to go have a great time. And he brings me to a detox center, a state-run alcoholic treatment center. And he tells me, he goes, "Ray, you don't have to stay. You can sit here and listen. You can leave whenever you want. You don't have to stay." And I sat there and listened to a lecture, and I'm looking around the room wondering who's talking about me.
It wasn't a meeting. It was a detox center.
Yes, it was a detox center. And they were having a lecture at the detox center. They allowed me to come in and listen to this man speak, this guy who was giving a lecture at the detox center. And he just told my life story and put it up there on the board. So I checked myself in, came out 26 days later, and I checked myself in. And I did not stay sober at that point. That was
okay. All right.
That was December 22nd. 1983 is when I checked myself into the treatment center. Okay. And I got out in January of 84, but then I went back to drinking and smoking pot and doing that again too. But I've been sober, completely drug and alcohol free since August 4th, 1984. That's my sobriety date.
Okay. So you had a little relapse. So you went you did a little bit of research, and then you were like, I think I got to stop.
Well, I had my final test. I gave myself tests. As long as I didn't get drunk and as long as I didn't go to a bar, I can drink like normal people. And then after I got drunk, I decided, well, as long as I just don't get drunk in a bar, I can drink like a normal person. I'm staying out of bars anyway. And August 3rd, 1984, I'm bombed out of my gourd in a bar, right? I couldn't even stay out of the bar. I'm bombed out of my gourd in a bar. And I came home and I'm thinking, I'm an alcoholic. And then I hit meetings. I went to meetings at that point, 9 meetings a week for the next 2.5 years. So it's that's when I really, and that's Welch Drywall hired me back again. And I worked for Welch again, sober now.
Did you go to Welch and be like, "Hey man, you guys, I've cleaned up my act. I'm better," or did they seek you out?
No, I probably called them looking for work, and they hired me, and I really was a really good finisher. And so, and now that I'm sober, I'm a workaholic. And when I introduce myself to large groups like this. "Hi, my name's Ray, and I'm a drug addict. I'm a drug addict. I'm an alcoholic. I'm a workaholic. I'm a compulsive gambler. I'm a liar. I'm a hider. I'm a thief. I'm a manipulator. But I'm also a beautiful child of God, worthy of love and respect." And that's kind of how I introduce myself. But
and inventor of the Drywall Doctor kit.
I'll tell you how I got this name at one point, but what happened
we'll get there. We're not there yet.
I go to work for them, and I'm good and I'm honest. What do they say? You got to be rigorously honest to stay sober. You're going to have to be in order to stay sober. You have to practice a life of rigorous honesty, and I'm rigorously honest. And I am just charging him for the hours that I work. They're paying me by the hour, joining him on scale, full benefits, and I have no idea.
Another side question:
it was good.
Are you using all the tools at that point?
Yes.
You're proficient with all the tools.
I have never ever gone to work without using the tools. I've been using the tools since 1976.
Because you're a union guy, like the same way with me. I learned using the tools with the union guys in Portland. I go down to Sierra Vista, Arizona, not far from Phoenix. Mm-hmm. I'm like, what? How come you guys aren't? And even in Colorado, they weren't using the tools. I was like, why aren't you guys?
I know. I was in Florida, and there was a guy there. They're all hand tapers in Florida.
Yeah, sure.
And I'm like, what are you doing? But you couldn't get the tools. Honestly, you couldn't get the tools unless you had really good credit, because they were all rented. I mean, you couldn't really purchase them yet. So you had to lease the tools. And so unless you had really good credit, you couldn't get the tools. But some guy showed up with some tapeworm tools, but they were missing parts. And I told him, well, you're missing this part, you're missing that part, because he didn't know what they were and how to use them. So he got the parts, and then I showed him how to use his tapeworm tools in Florida. But yeah, no, I've been using the tools, all of this time.
Okay. So you jump back on with Welsh Drywall.
Yeah.
How long are you with, and you stay with those guys for a while, but you're sober this time. You have to
I'm sober this time.
You relearn how to finish.
Yeah. So I'm sober this time, and I get my paycheck, and I'm short like 5 hours. And I brought the paycheck into him and I said, hey, I turned in my timesheet. I know you've shorted me 5 hours. Well, let's see. You're somebody says that you were standing around, and I go like this. I go, well, look at my apprentice's card. How many more hours does he have than I do? Oh, he's got, so many more hours than you do. I go, I'm not going to charge you for time I'm standing around doing nothing. I'm not going to charge you for that. I said, but I expect to get charged for every penny that I put on my timesheet. I said, I'm being honest here. And okay. So they gave me that money back. I had banked like 80 hours, two full weeks. And I took a 2-week full vacation, and I come back, and they pay me 1 40-hour paycheck, and then the other paycheck was only like 35 hours. They shorted me again, and I had told them, you short me again, I quit. Okay. And sure enough, they shorted me again, and I quit. I threw my tools on the ground. I walked away. I went to work for a company called Drywall. Phenomenal company.
Good for you.
The company. Love the guys there.
We talk about this a little bit on previous episodes of the Drywall Podcast, where people have had bad experiences with employers, myself included. Mm-hmm. Just to reiterate, you don't have to put up with people treating you unfairly. There's a lot, if you're a good drywaller, there's a lot of drywall companies out there that are looking for good employees. That said, that's what that reminds me of. You had the wherewithal to be like, I don't have to put up with this shit. And you were young. You were 20, 24?
Yes, somewhere around there. Understand, I actually have a company called Race Drywall Incorporated, RACE Drywall Incorporated. I started it 30 years ago or something like that. I had 17 hangers and 13 tapers working for me at one point. Okay. So I've had the employees too, doing big jobs. But what happened was, I'm talking to your audience now, and the tapers and everything in your audience. This is so important. A lot of these companies who are trying to make you feel like you owe them because they gave you a job, all right, is wrong. That is just wrong. You work for them, they pay you, you're even. You don't owe them, they don't owe you. You do a job for them, they give you a paycheck, you're even.
That's right.
Again, they don't owe you, you don't owe them. That's it. And so a lot of these, and I'm talking to some tapers too, oh, you guys are privileged to have me working for you. No, you've done your job. I have paid you. We're even.
That was me, right? That I was on that side of the spectrum.
Yeah,
hey, I'm here, everybody. Everybody, I'm here. It's okay.
I learned a long time ago, it does not matter how good you are. There's always somebody better. Always somebody better. I've watched these two guys who would walk into this job and they would finish these houses. You didn't even have to scrape the floor. There was no mud on the floor. They would get these houses done. They'd sweep up the floor and the house was just beautiful. No touch-ups, nothing. It was just absolutely gorgeous. I couldn't finish like them as bad as I would want to. But the problem is they were cocaine addicts. So it got to the point where, I mean, they would knock out these houses, boom, 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 boom. And then all of a sudden, you don't see them for a week or two. Because they're off on doing their drug.
The good finishers. Yeah. Speaking of good finishers, I was going to get your opinion on these Canadians that you keep seeing, really good finishers up there.
They are. I'll got to tell you, when they started, I had a taper that worked for me, and he always had a big wide blade. It was a wooden handled blade that he would pull up the walls.
Darby. They used to call them Darbies. Yeah, they call it a Darby, and now they have the skimming blades. But there's a difference. I learned there's a difference. A Darby is more rigid.
Yes, his was very rigid. His dad and all of his uncles and everything else, they were all the old time plasterers. You got to understand. I've ran into a lot of the old time plasterers that they don't exist anymore. They're just not there. But he would have one of these blades to do it. And it was nice. It was nice, but it seems like that's the go-to thing now that these guys are doing, these 2-foot blades on the walls. And have you tried
the skimming blades?
I have. They sent me a set to do I don't know.
Level 5?
No.
You loved it. Obviously you loved it.
It's in the garage.
I don't know. It's somewhere.
I use it. Matter of fact, I'm using it tomorrow.
What's the brand? I don't know. It's
It's blue. I know it's blue.
It's pretty.
You gotta go to my YouTube channel and find it. It's buried underneath about 300 videos someplace.
Did you do a review of this? You did. And what size is it? Like 36?
It was a 2-foot.
Yeah. Okay.
It was a 24-inch blade.
I saw a guy went up to Napa. A dude was doing a Fresco Harmony project up there. I drove all the way up to Napa, and I drove around with him for a day. Dave Clark, DC2 Drywall, and he was doing patches. And he was like whipping out his quick set and this and that and boom, boom. And then his final coat, man, he went to his truck and he got out the 48-inch and wow, just one shot. Done. And I was like, oh, that's cool.
Wow.
Doing
all the patches and drywall around here, I biggest knife I usually use is a 10. That's what I use as a 10. Yeah. But I was using a 12 today because this ceiling's been patched a lot and I've got to fix the patching that's been happening so many times. Truthfully, if it needed to come down and it needed new drywall, it won't be patched again. You will have to cut the drywall out and replace it.
Sounds like somebody needed to get up in that attic, reinforce the framing, then hang new drywall. It's like, who wants to pay for that?
Exactly. And the house isn't worth it. It's not like it was a $900,000 home. Truthfully, if it was a $900,000 home, I wouldn't have even done what I did. I would have told them, let's cut this drywall out. Let's make it right. Okay. You know what I mean? But when you're only talking of a couple of $100,000 house, you make it nice for them, so it's acceptable.
Okay, so you moved from Welch Drywall to, what was the drywall company that you said you loved them?
Drytex Drywall.
Drytex Drywall. How far from Drytex Drywall to Ray becomes the Drywall Doctor? And let's go through that birth of this concept of the Drywall Doctor. That's really cool to me.
Okay, with Welch. with Dritex Drywall, I ended up moving to Wheaton, and all of their work was up north. And all of a sudden, I'm driving from Wheaton to Grays Lake. And in the wintertime, it's taken me 3 hours just to get to the job site. So one way. And it just got to be too much. So I decided, you know what? Let me see if I can't start a company down here. So I knew a few people. I just put the name out there. And sure enough, I just started picking up work. I've never needed business cards.
No.
I just started picking up work, and I started getting some contractors. I got this contractor. It was Designers and Builders. He was a contractor, and he did a lot of these parade of homes. Do you ever hear of Carson's Ribs?
No.
Okay, it's a thing around here. It's a restaurant around here, Carson's Ribs. And they had their house was in the parade of homes, and I did their house. And I fixed a bunch of these other homes that he had, these multi-million-dollar homes. That's all he did. And fixed a few of those houses, and finally started getting a reputation for myself. And I'm doing a house where they Swiss cheese this wall. They ripped all of the drywall off of this wall to fix some water leak that was behind the wall. And I get all the way out to Barrington, which is a drive, and there's no place to get drywall. There's nothing around. You're out in the middle of nowhere at that time. And I've got nothing except some backing and all of the pieces that came off of this wall. So I pieced it all back together, taped it, finished it, and taped it, topped it, skimmed it, got it all ready to sand, and asked the painter if he would dust this down before he painted it tomorrow, so I didn't have to come all the way out to just sand it for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And he's like, what? And he goes, you're done with that? And I go, yeah. He goes, this I got to see. So he walks out there and he takes a look at it. He goes, oh my gosh, you're a surgeon with this stuff.
Yeah.
and he was just amazed. He goes, yeah, of course I can dust this down. It's not a problem. So he was going to dust it down before he painted it the next day. But that's where the name the Drywall Doctor came from. I started my own company, and I hired a guy, and he was awful. He couldn't learn how to spot screws. This guy couldn't do anything. Honestly, he was a gopher. He went for this, went for that. That's all I could do was have him carry stuff for me down in the basements, wash up the tools. As far as taping, he never got the hang of it, ever got the hang of any of it. And so before I let him go, I put up a small video on Instagram or Facebook or something with me putting in some off angles. And oh my gosh, I got a lot of views and a lot of people, hey, show us this finished, show us this finished. And he told me, this guy that's working for me, he goes, you know, I've got like 3 different YouTube channels up that he had started. And he says, if you want, we can do a YouTube channel and you know, for drywall.
And the Drywall Doctor's catchy too. Like that was a great name.
We didn't have that name yet. That name didn't exist yet.
Okay.
We tried a few things, but then I just said, try the Drywall Doctor on YouTube, and understand that's the name that I had to use. The Drywall Doctor on YouTube. And once I put that all in one word, they allowed me to put that up on YouTube but if I just tried to do the Drywall Doctor, I couldn't. If I just tried to do something, I couldn't do it. But when I did the Drywall Doctor on YouTube, they allowed me to have that YouTube channel.
Why wouldn't they allow you? Did other people have that domain? Oh, okay. Yeah, because it's hard by that time. What time was that? Because I imagine that was early in the inception of YouTube.
Yeah, that was 2016.
Okay, and then the
end of 2016.
The wherewithal, because you're an older person in the trade, a lot of, no offense, but a lot of the influential people on social media are younger. They tend to be younger. What was your thoughts on maybe you were like more open to the idea of these videos and maybe getting hits maybe more so.
Scared me to death.
Yeah, more
Absolutely.
so than other people your age. Boomers. You're a boomer.
Scared me half to death. And I told him, I said, this scares me half to death. I cannot imagine. I said, and I cannot imagine people are going to pay me to do this. And not only that, but I told him, I said, it scares me to death to lose control. I don't want to lose control of these videos either on YouTube.
Okay.
So it was the end of September of 2016 is when I put my first video up. By January of 2017, I had already had 1,000 subscribers. Right.
That's a bunch. I mean,
yeah. So by the end of 2017, I'm already getting paid from YouTube. They're paying me because you can't pay me unless you make at least $100 a month. You don't get a paycheck. So from
YouTube, you have to make at least $100.
Yes. So you have to at least get $100.
How do you make $100 posting videos on YouTube?
Ads. They run ads on your YouTube channel. So they put ads on your videos.
Because they're putting ads on my videos now, and I'm like, I ain't seen, but I haven't done any of the energy to monetize or anything like that.
Right. And that's what you have to do. You have to monetize the videos, and you can't monetize the videos unless you're getting at least 4,000 views a month. You have to have 4,000 views a month. I was getting 12,000 views a day at one point.
Okay.
Yeah. So I easily get 4,000 views a month. Easily.
Okay.
So
when was this, when you were getting $100 a month, when would you say that was? How far after you started?
About a year after.
About a year. Okay. Yeah.
And then
17.
In 2018, all of a sudden I'm getting $300-400 a month. And this guy who helped me set up the YouTube channel steals it. He goes in the back door and steals everything.
the guy that didn't know how to tape.
Yeah.
Well, he knows how to steal.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And so he steals it all.
What a dick.
Oh, I know. And I'm like, what are you doing? He doesn't know a question. You cannot ask him a question and he would have an answer because he doesn't know.
Yeah, he's thinking like, $400 a month, I'm just going to cash out and just let this ride.
Yep. So wow. I have to sue him to get the channel back because understand, I've got the channel all back. But I had to sue him to do that. And I did. I get the channel back. I get everything back. And then I just kind of lost interest and I just didn't do anything. But I tell you, at one point, I was making $600-700 a month. Easy.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
Just doing nothing, just putting videos up.
Content. Yeah, I mean, 47,000 followers. That's impressive.
Well, now I don't do anything. I post once in a while.
They probably changed it a lot too since those early days. It's harder. That's why I don't fuck with it, Ray. I'm like, you know what my videos are for? It's like, oh, Ray wants to see how to do fresco, or maybe I do some neat things with fresco. I can take that video and share it to you. I can text it to you.
But if you're watching this video, guys, subscribe. I need 100,000 subscribers.
Absolutely. Subscribe to the Drywall Doctor on YouTube.
Yes. I need 100,000 subscribers. I should have had it by now. And had he not stolen the channel, had he just done, I was going, the funny thing is I was just speaking to a lawyer because I had just come out with the Drywall Doctor first aid kit, and I had just spoken to an attorney, and we were going to write up a contract for this guy, and I was going to make him a 25% partner. So he would have gotten 25% of everything. I mean, everything.
Well, yeah, and you guys could have worked together. He could have helped you build the channel. People are idiots.
It would have been so much. We would have definitely had 200-300 subscribers by now. We would have. Right. Instead, I've got to sue him, get the channel back. And then I lost interest. I just it's too much for one guy. I have to shoot the videos, edit the videos, post the videos, and I'm working.
It's a lot.
It's just a lot to do. And,
I've got 70 videos up on that fucking thing. I mean, shooting videos, even testimonials, like pulling that camera out, doing the editing. It's a lot.
It's time consuming. The last videos I was shooting were when I was in Vail, Colorado. So those were some of the last videos that I did. And
Nice. Yeah, and we're still it still goes.
Yeah, this next year though, I completely retire. I'm done. I'm finished. I'm gonna probably move somewhere in Missouri, buy a house there, and I'm gonna set up a studio, and then I'll do a lot of live views, a lot of live shows. I will do a lot of teaching. I'm gonna teach a lot. So that's when I'll get your product, and I'll be teaching your product too out on the walls and things like that. So you'll have to send me your product too.
Yeah, of course.
Because that's what I plan on doing. Is I plan on teaching a lot. But I still can't get over how people aren't pre-filling. It kind of blows my mind. I thought that was drywall 101 to pre-fill before you tape. I really did. I talked a little bit about that with Walter Baker on the last episode. I was in Sierra Vista and I was making 8 cents a square foot piece rate. Mm-hmm. I went from making 80% journeyman wage in Portland, vacation pay, benefit package, to making shit. And I was like, I ain't pre-filling nothing. Those were the end of my pre-fill days. I think maybe that's what happened. I don't know.
Not getting paid enough. I mean, and you talked a little bit about our worth.
Yes.
Like you touched on it, like drywall, when you walk onto the job, it's an equal trade. I am providing a service. You are giving me an amount of money. Now, the big dramatic aspect of drywall that I've seen, because people look down their nose at the drywaller, we're the carp of the industry.
Well, we're just one step up from being a laborer.
Yeah. And yes, and it's we laugh, but that's the truth, and that's how people see us, and that's why they don't get fucking pre-fill out of me. You want me to do this extra, level 4 on the garage? Well, it's going to cost X amount. Myron, in my interview with Myron Ferguson, he's like, it's no big deal. You can pay me that amount. I'm just not gonna. I'm not gonna sand the garage.
Yeah.
Like if you want the garage sanded, it's going to cost you the extra $1,000.
I bid a house. This is no lie. I bid a house because give me a blueprint. I'll bid the house. And so I bid this house. I submitted my bid. The homeowner has got to okay it, and he gets bids from other people too. And I was recommended by the builder. The builder says, I recommend this guy. This guy is going to do the job and he's going to do it right. I recommend this guy. But I happen to be like $4,000 higher than the lowest guy he had. Okay. And he told me, the owner calls me up and says, I'd really like to use you, but you're $4,000 higher than the lowest bid that we have. Okay. And I said, okay. And he goes, would you be willing to come down? And I said, no, sir, I'm sorry, I can't. And he goes, well, how come? I said, because I didn't guesstimate how much this job was going to cost me. I estimated it, and to do what I have to do, I need this much money to do what I have to do. Yeah. And he goes, would you split the difference? And I said, if this print came across my desk right now, it would be higher than the price that I just gave you. I said, but I will honor the price that I gave you at the $4,000 more than your lowest bid.
Good for you.
He goes, you're hard to work with. You're hard to work with. And I told him, I said, no. I said, listen, I'm just not in it for the practice anymore. I know what it takes to do this job. I know what my hanging costs me. I know what my taping costs me. I know what my materials cost me. I'm only getting a profit margin of 13%. That's it. No more than that. And I said, and even then, if I have a problem, it comes out of that 13% profit margin. It doesn't come out of everything else is accounted for. Everything else is already spent. So I've got 13% of this job in order to try to make up any problems that might happen.
Right.
And he goes, well, I'll let you know if you got the job. I didn't get the job. The builder was sued because of the drywall contractor that did the job, and the builder, it cost the builder $100,000 out of his pocket for that job, just because of the hangers that the homeowner picked.
Yeah.
And, once the homeowner picks the drywall contractor, the builder's still the builder's the one who's, covering the job. He's covering the entire job. Yeah. The general contractor.
But that's a challenging, sometimes I'll be devil's advocate when, in myself included, like, and you're starting out. I mean, sometimes you get hungry, you need the work. It's like you take that shit wage and there's a lot of different factors that have driven the cost of drywall down. I feel like we're coming into a new age now where drywallers don't exist. All of a sudden, that drywaller is really busy. And so I have the same feedback for drywallers across the board when they're like, I'm too busy. I'm like, jack your prices. It's finally time. We should get what we're worth. It takes 3 years to get proficient at drywall finishing. I'm talking about finishing. I'm not talking about hanging.
Right.
This trade that gets taken for advantage, 3 years to be a proficient finisher, tools, minimum, and that's like texture, level 5, tools, everything.
Right.
That's worth something.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And, I was doing houses over here in Glen Ellen. Glen Ellen's really ritzy, a lot of multi-million-dollar homes. And I'm just doing multi-million-dollar homes. And I've been doing work for this builder for years. And all of a sudden he calls me up and says, Ray, I got a price of this house, $6,000 less than what you bid it for.
Beautiful.
He goes, did you make a mistake? And I said, I don't know. Let me look. And I went over the print and looked at it and said, no, I want this much to do this house. Yeah. Well, how can you do it for $6,000 less? And I said, I have no idea. Absolutely none. So he hired the guy to do the job. The guy did the job. He asked me, could you go look to make sure the drywall's right? So I went in there, counted the drywall, because I'm friends with this builder. Oh, okay. Drywall was right on. It was right on. And the guy did it for $6,000 less than me. And I told him, I said, I am not paying you to do your house. If I had done that for $6,000 less, I am actually paying you. I not only have not made 1 penny on that job, I said, it's money out of my pocket paying you to do your house. I said, I'm not going to do that. So he used this guy for about 2 years, and then he gets another price from me. And we were within $1,500 of each other. Yeah. So we're not $6,000 difference. We're $1,500. And he goes, if you're only $1,500 more, I'm using you. So he used me, and I did 2 houses for him, right? Because we were within $1,500 of each other. We get to the 3rd house, and he's $6,000 less than me again. Yep. And I was like, yeah, he's trying to keep his guys busy. He's actually losing money on your house just to keep his guys busy. And I go, I'm not going to play the game. I said, you can use him all you want. I said, but don't call me again. If you do, don't call me again. I said, I'm not playing the games. Yeah. And a good builder, I feel like will pay for a good finisher. They won't try to split hairs with you like that. Well, he ends up asking me about one of the houses that they did. And a lot of the seams cracked, a lot of them cracked. All fiberglass mesh tape, almost every seam in the house cracked. And he goes, what do we need to do? What do we need to do? And I said, well, if you want me to do it, we got to rip all of the drywall down and start from scratch. I go, otherwise, just call the guys back in, call the guys back in and have them do it. I said, I'm not going to pass. I'm not going to touch up this house and start taking responsibility for somebody else's work. I said, just call the guys back in and have them patch it. So he did. He called the guys back in, And then another house, he's like, Ray, what's wrong with this? What's wrong with this house? And I'm looking at it and I couldn't figure out, but you could just tell something was wrong with it. You ever hear of Lafarge drywall? I feel like yes. Yeah. It's got to be up until I used American drywall, I would say Lafarge was probably the worst drywall I've ever dealt with in my life. Okay. Honestly, you couldn't even cut a small patch. The stuff just crumbled in your hands. Okay. It was just garbage drywall. Then I came across American drywall in Vail, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is second place to bottom drywall.
Is that American gypsum you're talking about?
Yes. American gypsum. Yes. It's some of the worst drywall I ever worked
with. We have a plant. We have a plant right here in Albuquerque. I'll let them know. I'll go tell them.
They have a plant right there, and it's called Gypsum, Colorado. And that's where they make it, right there in Gypsum, Colorado.
Yeah.
And nobody carries anything but American drywall, American gypsum drywall. And here we can get Celotex, Gold Bond, USG. We can get there's a big competition for different drywall contractors or different drywall here. And the drywall is incredible here. It really is. You get very little paper rough when you're sanding. And I did not know the difference until I did that job in Vail, Colorado, and started dealing with that drywall and how easy you just touch it like this and you got paper rough. And I'm thinking, this stuff is just garbage compared to the drywall here.
What do you use? Do you use USG?
If I can. USG has actually kind of gone downhill a lot.
That's been predominant feedback.
But you know why? I knew the rep of USG. His name was Jeff Johnson. I'm going to say his name. His name's Jeff Johnson. He retired, but he was in charge of quality control for United States Gypsum. So when they were having problems, he would bring it back to the factory and he would sit there and say, hey, we're having problems with this. We need to tighten up on that. We need to fix this. And their stuff was second to none. It really was second to none. Once he quit and retired, they don't have somebody for quality control anymore. So it's just been going downhill ever since. The last job I got, it was a basement. It was Gold Bond. Oh, and that was good drywall. I'm telling you, the tabs peeled nice. They didn't break. You didn't drop it and bust it all up. It wasn't like that. It was good. It's the lightweight. And it was really, really good. It's almost like it's got a coating on the surface of it. So it did not have any paper rough. It finished out really, really nice. The Gold Bond that I just had in this last basement.
And lastly, a question I ask everybody that comes on the Drywall Podcast. First of all, thank you so much. This has been awesome, Ray. Did you have fun?
I did. Yeah. Always did.
It's better talking to a drywall guy, right?
My wife says I'm a talker.
Yeah, you are. That's okay. I am too. A pearl of wisdom that you could bestow on the drywall community, what would it be?
Don't do what I did. I did enough research for all of us.
What's the alcohol? Yeah, steer clear of alcohol. At least in moderation. If you have a problem, get help. There are places that you can go. You can email me. I'm sure that you could email or reach out to Ray. People that are in recovery are very receptive to people that are looking to get clean or sober. Any other pearls of wisdom? You've given a bunch, but like something that hit home to you. I really like the walk away concept.
Let it dry.
That's pretty cool. Let it dry. Yeah.
And when it does come to drugs and alcohol too, what I like to tell people is if you don't have to do it, don't do it. And if you do have to do it, get help. My absolute worst day sober today is still far better than my best day as a drunk.
Yeah. So, and that's a good pearl of wisdom. Ray Anderson, the Drywall Doctor. I've been following you for a long time. The Drywall Podcast follows you on YouTube. The Fresco Harmony had already followed you on YouTube, and then now Nick Harmon follows you on YouTube as well. And then you have a Facebook page, the Drywall Doctor on YouTube. Mm-hmm. Facebook. What about Instagram?
I have an Instagram too. The Drywall Doctor on YouTube, Instagram. I do have that too.
And then if you had a YouTube video, obviously you have a bunch of videos on YouTube. If you had a YouTube video that you would recommend people going to see that you really enjoy, or one that you did a good job besides the Drywall Doctor kit, YouTube video, what other video would you recommend? I have kind of my own favorites in my queue. What do you have?
You know what? I was skimming out a popcorn ceiling, and I was talking about my life on that one. And I really liked that one. The one that gets the most views is the one that has a big gap in it, because I talk about how older people, right? Older people keep talking about the past and what they could have been doing in life. You know, how do I put it? Younger people are always looking ahead, you know, on what they're going to be doing. Older people are always looking back on the things that they could have been doing. And middle-aged people are always looking tired.
Yeah.
So
take a little time to smell the roses and appreciate where you're at in this life. For sure.
If you don't like what you're doing in drywall, do something else. If you really enjoy what you're doing in drywall, you've never worked a day in your life. I've always enjoyed taping. Always enjoyed finishing drywall. And it's just something that I've enjoyed doing. So do something that you enjoy. Life's too short to not be doing the work that you're enjoying, because if you're really enjoying what you're working on, you've never worked a day in your life.
Love it. This has been a pleasure. People have reached out to me to get in touch with you. People have mentioned to you that you should come on the Drywall Podcast. Yep. We finally made it happen. This was awesome. You're in a line of elitists in this trade. You will get a swag bucket from CSR. That's kind of cool, filled with a couple of cool things.
What?
CSR gives out to all of the people that come on the Drywall Podcast a swag bucket with a 3-way. Okay. Have you heard of the 3-way? It's a paper corner that goes into the corner.
I've seen them. Yes, I have.
Yeah. Okay. You'll get to try one of those, a tech dry tool, possibly. Have you seen those? It's like a pocket knife with 3 small blades.
Oh, I have seen those too. I've seen
They're cool
on YouTube, and I've seen them on Instagram.
And then you'll get
cool.
They are cool. You'll get a sample pack too, Fresco Harmony, but I'll send you I'll send you probably a little bit just to try, and for saying thanks for coming on the show anyways. So thank you so much for joining us on the Drywall Podcast today. And
send me your address and I'll send you a t-shirt.
All right, sir. We'll talk soon. Thanks again, Ray.
All right. You have a great day.
You too, bud.
Bye.
I'd like to give a huge shout out to Ray for being with us on the Drywall Podcast today, and your candidness. What a great conversation. Really appreciate you opening up the way you did, and I'll be looking out for that shirt in my mailbox. The Drywall Podcast can be listened to every Friday with new episodes on your favorite platforms such as Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and also YouTube. And if you have a hankering to check out this doctor's drywall kit that we were discussing, you can see the entire interview on YouTube as well. If you have questions or concerns about the Drywall Podcast, you have questions about Fresco Harmony, anything, you can reach out to me directly at info@frescoharmony.com or give me a call, 505-400-9313. Thank you so much for listening to the Drywall Podcast today. If you made it this far, I really appreciate it. I hope you have a fantastic Friday. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. And remember, keep drywalling.